LEGO Star Wars UCS sets are arguably the biggest and most hyped up sets of every year, so today I'm going to do my best at predicting every LEGO Star Wars UCS and Master Builder Series set that we're going to get from now until 2030. I put a lot of time into this list, and I'm trying to be as realistic as possible because, I mean, it is LEGO that we're talking about here. They rarely make fan-favorited and requested sets, so with that in mind, again, I'm just trying to be as realistic as possible. Also, yeah, I know the title says in the next 5 years, and I'm going to be covering 6 years in this video, but 5 just sounded better than 6 in the title of the video. Anyways, in 2024, we know the 2 UCS sets we're getting. Well, one we already got, which was the UCS TIE Interceptor back in May, and the big expensive one we're going to be getting in the latter half of the year in October is going to be the Sail Barge. So skipping right past 2024 and starting in 2025, as most of us know, 2025 is going to be the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. So because of that, a lot of people, myself included, are expecting LEGO to make some sets from this movie to celebrate the anniversary of the film, and because it's kind of tradition for LEGO to release all of the anniversary sets for a Star Wars movie in May, I think for the $200 May 4th UCS set next year in 2025, we're going to get a dueling Anakin and Obi-Wan's Jedi Interceptor set. I imagine they'd both be about the size of the 2010 UCS Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter, and honestly, if they're going to celebrate the 20th anniversary of this film, I think it just really makes sense for them to do this. The Jedi Interceptors are arguably 2 of the most iconic ships from that movie, and I think it would just work really well as the $240 UCS set in May. Some people would argue that we could get a UCS ARC 170 for 2025, but I think it would be really dumb of LEGO to make an ARC 170 a UCS set and not a playset. I mean, I know LEGO has made some not so great decisions in the past, but I don't think they're dumb enough to make a highly requested set like an ARC 170 a UCS set, because obviously UCS sets are expensive and unattainable for some fans, and since a ARC 170 remake is so highly requested, it would just make sense to do it as a playset. So because of this, I think the UCS set in May next year is going to be the Jedi Interceptors, and along with them in the same wave, we're probably going to get a playset ARC 170. Now for the large October or November set in 2025, I think by that time we're going to be pretty overdue for a new Master Builder Series set, and especially overdue for a new Ewok Village. So I think in October of 2025, the big set is probably going to be a Master Builder Series Ewok Village. It's definitely an extremely popular set, and one that a lot of people want to get their hands on because it just looks really awesome. And on top of me having this prediction, a rumor has actually kind of started to go around from this guy named T&N Bricks. I have no idea who this guy is, but he has been posting teasers of an Ewok Village in 2025 on his Instagram, and obviously take this with a grain of salt. Again, I have no idea who this guy is or if he's credible, but he has been posting teasers, and a lot of people have been taking those and posting them on Discord and sending them to me personally on Discord, kind of making a big deal about that. So it does kind of seem like a lot of people know who this guy is after all and kind of trust him, but I personally have no idea who he is. I'm taking these with a grain of salt, and with or without his rumors, I still think we're probably going to get an Ewok Village next year. I've had this prediction for months, even before he started teasing it, and if it's not the Ewok Village, I think it's at least going to be something from Endor. In other words, the bunker or the final Endor battle scene, whatever you want to call it. That is a possibility and would also work really well for next year, but I think the chances are a bit higher for an actual Ewok Village remake. Moving on to 2026, the Mandalorian Standoff movie is scheduled to come out on May 22nd of that year, so because of that, I'm gonna kind of go out on a limb and say that the May 4th UCS set for 2026 is most likely going to be a $240 Mandalorian in one Starfighter. I don't really have much else to say about this besides that the Mandalorian is clearly already popular enough for a UCS set because they made the Razor Crest, and since it clearly is some of the most fan-favorited and hyped up content that Disney has made, I think the movie in 2026 will generate enough hype to make LEGO want to make a UCS Mandalorian in one Starfighter. Naboo Starfighters are pretty small and it would have to be very oversized, but I mean, they did make a UCS Luke's Lane Speeder for $240 after all, so I think they could definitely pull this off. Now in October or November or just the latter half of 2026, I think by that time LEGO is finally going to realize that we're going to be very overdue for a new UCS Death Star, or just a Death Star in general. I think it could be just a remake of the 2008 or 2016 style Death Stars, but I really want to go out on a limb and say that 2026 is going to be the year where they finally remake the Death Star 2. They've only made it one time and it came out nearly 20 years ago in 2005, and I think by 2026 we're going to be way overdue for a new display set Death Star, and who knows, it might even have the potential to end up being the very first $1,000 LEGO set. Moving on to 2027, this year is going to be the 50th anniversary anniversary of Star Wars as a whole, because A New Hope came out in 1977, and you know LEGO is definitely going to celebrate this. So in May of 2027, I think to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, we're gonna get a UCS Vader's TIE Advanced remake. They've only made this set one time in UCS scale, and I think by that time, it's gonna be very, very overdue. I mean, it's overdue right now, but by then, it's gonna be even more overdue, and I think that's when LEGO is kind of gonna nail down and remake this set. I imagine it would be $240 and be about the same size as the TIE Interceptor that we just got. And then in October or November of 2027, continuing on with the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, I think we're going to get a large-scale UCS Tantive 4 remake, similar to the one that we got back in 2001, but most likely a lot bigger. And speaking of the 2001 model, that's the only like full-scale UCS model we've gotten of the ship. There's been a few playsets and then obviously the midi-scale one from this year, but we've only gotten one official UCS model of it, and I think the 50th anniversary of A New Hope is the absolute best time for LEGO to remake this set. Moving on to 2028, I think this is going to be the year where we get some more unique Star Wars sets, and when I mean unique, I mean just not starfighters and cruisers. And for the $240 May 4th UCS set in 2028, I think we are finally going to get a Slave 1 remake. I really think that 2028 is going to be the year that LEGO decides to remake this set. It's one of the most fan-favorited and just overall best UCS sets of all time. For 2015, it was incredible, it still holds up today, it's such a good-looking model, and I think 2028 is the year that we might see another one. Moving on to the latter half of 2028 in October, I have two sets that I think have the potential to take up this spot, one being a UCS Ghost and the other being a UCS Imperial Shuttle remake. As of right now, I'm more confident in it being the Imperial Shuttle, just because by 2028, we're going to be very, very overdue for a UCS shuttle of some sort to return to shelves, and I mean, what better choice is there for LEGO than an Imperial Shuttle? I really think this is the year that they could remake this set, but at the same time, I also think the Ghost is a good runner-up for this year, because by 2028, obviously, Ahsoka Season 2 is going to be out, and we will potentially be right in the middle of some sort of Thrawn series, because obviously Ahsoka is introducing Thrawn, and then I imagine there would probably be an entire series about Thrawn's campaign when he came back to the main galaxy, and I also think the Ghost is going to be a very heavily involved ship, obviously in Season 2 of Ahsoka, but also in the potential Thrawn show that I'm predicting that they might make, and I think that will make this ship even more popular than it already is, and potentially convince LEGO to make a UCS model of it. Moving on to 2029, this is going to be the 30th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, and because of that, just maybe for the May 4th UCS set this year, we might get a UCS Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator. And I'm saying maybe because there's obviously the chance that LEGO would not make a UCS Episode 1 set to celebrate the anniversary of the film, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say they might do it, and I think Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator would work really well for the $240 May UCS set for that year. Now, some of you would say that we would get an MTT instead, but like the ARC 170 that I mentioned earlier, I think by now we will have another playset MTT, and if we somehow don't have another playset MTT by 2029, I think it would be pretty foolish of LEGO to make it a UCS set and not a playset. Moving on to the latter half of 2029 in October or November, I think the big $600 UCS set this year is going to be a Super Star Destroyer remake. By this point, it will obviously be pretty overdue for a remake, and also by 2029, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say the Venator will be retired, so because of that, there won't be any large UCS cruisers or capital ships on shelves, and I think that would be the perfect time for LEGO to remake the Super Star Destroyer. Now finally, moving on to 2030, literally roughly about 5.5 years from now, I think for the May 4th UCS set this year, we could potentially get a remake of the UCS B-Wing. It will have been the only Rebel starfighter that has not had a remake. The Y-Wing got remade, the X-Wing's been made 3 times, the Snowspeeder got remade, and the A-Wing came out in 2020, so I think 2030 might be a little too soon to do a UCS remake for that starfighter, so that's why I think that 2030 will be the perfect year for LEGO to remake the UCS B-Wing. And then for the latter half of 2030, being in October or November, this one might sound a bit disappointing or kind of lame, but I think this is going to be the year when we get a new 3rd iteration of the Millennium Falcon. It will be a whole 13 years after the 2nd iteration came out in 2017, which for context came out 10 years after the 1st iteration in 2007, and I think if we get a remake of this set in 2030, it would not be sequel themed, and it would kind of be refreshed to be Episode 4 and Episode 6 themed, and we could possibly get Lando and Nien Nunb and some other characters, and then of course the whole Millennium Falcon crew from Episode 4, along with a very similar but updated build to the 2nd iteration, and hopefully one that has hallways. Anyways guys, those are my UCS and Master Builder Series set predictions for the next 6 years. Let me know what you think about my list down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the end screen right now.